Today we're reviewing Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, one of the highest rated animes ever. Like if you go look on any rating website, this is like a 9 point something. You go on like my anime list, which sometimes is a bit biased because if it's a new anime, it will be way higher. So if you look at like Bleach, Thousand Year Blood War, that shit is always gonna be like a 9.5 out of 10. They're not always appropriately ranked, but Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is always in like the top 5. It's always rated 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Always, and almost on everyone's list, one of the greatest animes of all time. So in my head, I was like, hey, I'm ready for this. I'm expecting to see like the Michael Jordan, the LeBron James, the Lionel Messi, the Ronaldo of fucking anime, you know? Like I said, the expectations were all the way up there. They were surpassed. I was expecting this to be the greatest anime of all time. And did it live up to those expectations? I would say yes, I would say this is a really, really good anime. And if you're into anime, you have to watch this. Like, you have to watch this. It is so good. It's one of those that I binge watch pretty much. Like, I've watched 2 animes this year, Death Note and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Full Metal almost has double the episodes of Death Note. And let me tell you, I watched Full Metal Alchemist in like less than a week, 5 days. It took me a few months to get through Death Note. That's how much, the difference. When I like an anime, I will binge watch it, and this shit was really, really good. It has everything you would want from anime it has. Anyway, let's talk about some of those really good things. And the first thing I want to talk about is foreshadowing, because every piece of media these days, whether it's movies, TV shows, anime, whatever it is, it wants plot twists, it wants foreshadowing, it wants all of that good stuff. And I think Full Metal might be one of the best pieces of media I've ever seen at doing foreshadowing. Like, it will just show you something that will become relevant 30 episodes later. Almost everything they show you is relevant at some point in the anime, which I really like. Like literally the first episode of the anime, if they had just listened to the villain in that episode, the rest would have been irrelevant, right? And yeah, literally the whole anime is extremely unpredictable. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next. Really great to see. Some of the plot twists are so good. I always say my favorite plot twist, minor spoiler alert for Attack on Titan, is when Reiner and the Bertholdt get found out to be the Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan. That to me was something I didn't see coming. One of the greatest plot twists of all time. Full Metal has the very, very similar things in it. When you find out what certain people are homunculi and shit like that, very similar to that for me. Not as good as the Attack on Titan one, but very great foreshadowing in this. And I had to talk about that because it is amazing. So another great thing about Full Metal Alchemist is that the world building is very cool. Like, yes, it is kind of similar to other things, Bleach, they have their soul energy, Naruto, they have their chakra, and this is alchemy. Alchemy is the thing. It's a very interesting concept, which is similar enough to other animes, but also quite different in that. And alchemy is also not super overpowered. Yes, it's overpowered against the common man, but against the main villain, alchemy isn't really that powerful. And I just think the world building is really good. It's set in like a pre-World War One. I think Germany is kind of the vibe they're going for. When you actually look on the Wikipedia or whatever it's called, the the Animepedia, whatever it's called for Full Metal Alchemist, apparently a certain somebody with a mustache is in the anime at some point. But I didn't see this person, this very, very evil man. I did not see him. But for me, the world building is great. Alchemy fits in very well at that time because the tech isn't very well advanced. They're still taking trains everywhere. I think the world fits the narrative and everything very, very well. Anyway, let's talk about some of the characters in Full Metal Alchemist, because you don't have a great anime without great characters. And now, if you want to hear more about the characters, I'm going to drop the full tier list because, I have to. There's so many characters. We're going to tier list them all. And I'll probably put it in the description or put it in the card, whatever. Go watch that too. But I want to talk about the protagonists because this is an interesting way to do protagonists. When you look at Edward and Alphonse, first and foremost, I didn't expect Alphonse to be his brother when I saw like posters of Full Metal. I was like, why has he got a robot following around? It's a suit of armor and it's actually his brother. And I think the dual protagonist thing, I guess Edward is the main one, but it's kind of this dual protagonist thing, and it works very well because most animes, when you have kind of dual protagonists, whether it's Naruto and Sasuke or whoever it may be, they're usually going against each other, whereas in this one, they're working together. And what one lacks, the other one has, and they're kind of polar opposites, but they make one really good. But they make a really good team. Their moral high grounding can get a bit annoying, I will say that, like, especially Eric, man moves like he's above morals, when I think it would have been a lot better for his character not to be like the super astute moral guy. It would be cool if he would just beat the shit out of people. One thing I also want to say is they don't give the protagonist any plot armor for the most part. Like, they get the shit beat out of them. They lose almost every fight they fight. They are not super overpowered, even though the first episodes will give you kind of the impression that they are very strong. Compared to the others, especially the villains, they are not strong whatsoever, and I like that because compared to Bleach, which, you know, Ichigo has every piece of plot armor ever invented. You know, it's great to see something where the protagonists aren't necessarily the strongest, and it creates much more of a threat than in other animes. I'll say that. And that leads me on perfectly to talk about the villains, because the villains in this anime are fucking crazy, bro. The whole homunculus thing is just insane. The whole way they mix it in with their dad, and their dad being like some ancient being himself, who is like a philosopher stone. The only time I've ever heard of philosopher stone is like Harry Potter, by the way. I know it's more of a like an ancient mythical thing, probably. Like it's like the elixir of life, whatever it is. They use that concept very well in this anime, and that's the whole concept behind the villains. And you know, all the homunculi, they're very strong. You know, you have the seven deadly sins, and not the anime. It's like the whole Bible thing. The main villain, the father, the dwarf in a flask, whatever you want to call him, has removed all his sins because he wants to be the perfect being. He wants to absorb God and all that. Interesting concept for a villain. Not that it hasn't been done before, but the fact that he removed his sins, you could look way deeper and analyze into this anime if you wanted to. You know, he removes the seven deadly sins. They're all villains in their own right. They all have a philosopher's stone in them. You know, greed, gluttony, lust, pride, envy, Sloth, who is also voiced by Kenpachi, by the way. And I picked up, I was like, why does he sound exactly like Kenpachi? This is the sub version, I don't watch dub anime, but I was like, what? Is it the same voice? I googled it, and yes, Kenpachi and Sloth are voiced by the same actor. Pretty cool. Pride, a very intimidating villain. Wrath, a very good villain. Like, just the concept, the plot twist with some of them was really good. The villains are amazing. If there's one thing about them that I would change, I would definitely say that the envy, the CGI, because he turns into a dinosaur or whatever the fuck it is. It's weird. It's like a lizard, whatever it is. It does look very fucking weird. It looks bad. I'll say that. But for the most part, the villains are not only scary, intimidating, evil. They're everything you want from a villain. And Full Metal Alchemist also has a lot of interactions between protagonists and villains, and they're not just fighting. It's not just like other animes where, you know, they fight and that's it. They actually have to work together in circumstances. They have to like team up. It's actually very, very weird, but also very enjoyable. You know, and of course the side characters, they all play their part. Someone like Mustang, who's like the Levi of this world. I guess he's not really a side character, he's quite main. And then, you know, Scar as well. These are all very, very good characters, very interesting. I love the way that Full Metal does like this whole character cycle. Like they have great development, they have great depth. Almost every character who has a significant part in this anime is explored very well, and it's got great depth to it, which you don't get from most animes. Well, like I said, the tier list video, if you want to know my thoughts on all of them, I will leave that. The one last thing I will comment on is Winry, because she can be very annoying. She is the Inoue, the Sakura, the whatever you want to call her of this anime. She is the love interest. She does have an Inoue arc at some point, but unlike Bleach, they shelve her. They put her on the shelf and say, okay, sit there and don't get involved anymore, which I kind of like. In terms of negatives, is there really any negatives to talk about? I mean, I guess it wouldn't be everyone's cup of tea, this anime, but for me, if you like shonen anime, if you like anime like Naruto, Bleach, stuff like that, this is the pinnacle. This is right up there with Attack on Titan. The last thing I want to talk about is the ending, because the ending is one thing that could be construed as bad about this anime. Like, it leaves me in two minds. On one hand, it's fine. It's fine. It's not the worst anime ending I've seen. It's been way worse. But on the other hand, I think it could have been way better. I think they could have rounded out character arcs a lot more. The one that annoys me the most is Ed just losing his alchemy. Yes, I know he did it to get his brother back. And the truth or God kind of says, oh, you beat me. That's the whole point, you know? What they could have done is just sacrifice their dad, who was dying anyway. Like, what gets me is he was dead. He was basically dying. Like, literally 2 minutes later, the guy's dead. I guess they wanted to make the whole full circle that he goes and dies with his dead wife or whatever, but yeah, I just think it would have been way better for his arc to actually do something for his children and then sacrifice himself to bring Alphonse's body back. I would have liked that more. They didn't do that. Most of the side characters' arcs are fine, like Ling's arc is fine. The way the little girl with the panda's arc is fine. Scar's arc is pretty complete, and then most of the homunculus arc all complete, except the first one, who goes back to truth, and then I guess he gets sent back to Earth. I'm not exactly sure what happens. It's just Ed's arc that kind of pisses me off, that he loses his alchemy, although in the end it's fine. One's going off researching Eastern, one's going off West. For the most part, it's a fine ending, although everyone else gets their body parts back. Everything they sacrifice, they get back. Mustang's getting his eyes back, and Havoc, who was paralyzed, is getting his legs back, and everyone's making full recoveries, and then just Ed without his alchemy. Hey, it is what it is, though. It's not that bad of an ending. It's the one negative thing I would say about this anime. We're getting into the rating. What would I rate this out of 10? I would give this a 9.8 out of 10. It is potentially the best anime I've seen. I'm reluctant to put it above Attack on Titan yet. I want to see what Attack on Titan do with their last special in whenever it's September or October is coming out. I want to see what they do with that, because depending on how that goes, Attack on Titan will stay number one. For me, Attack on Titan stays number one over Full Metal for the moment, but this is one of my top 5 anime of all time. I would 100% recommend that you watch this. And yeah, that's all I got to say today. I'll see you all in the next one.